Okay, now chapter 32 was actually the last chapter of the book, but we also have something following that called an epilogue. And an epilogue is something that kind of ties things together at the end of a story. So here we go. Epilogue, a secret from long ago. Days passed and weeks flew by, and in the blink of a raven's eye, 30 springs had come and gone. In other words, 30 years had passed. The bluebells continued to bloom and wither beside the chapel royal's door. As fledglings spread their wings and boys grew into men, the tower's stony walls stood as high and unyielding as ever. It was a cloud-covered day in March that found the tower's Ravenmaster standing within those walls. "Hear that, Tuck? They're raising the gates. Company's coming." The bird's eyes, dull black pearl, seemed to brighten as he cocked his head. Together the two watched as the number of new prisoners were led over the drawbridge. Workmen and tradesmen with their carts and wagons followed. But it was one small figure in the last group who caught the Ravenmaster's attention. He was but a wisp of a boy, so wafer thin he looked as if he might blow away in the strong March wind. The Ravenmaster's dark eyebrows shot up at the sight of the scamp's ragged clothes and his dirty little face. And suddenly the memory of another boy flooded his mind. "Are you the Ravenmaster?" the boy called. "Ravenmaster Forrest Harper?" Startled, the Ravenmaster blinked and looked down at the poor waif standing before him. "Aye," he answered. "I am he." Now I want to make sure you caught this. Forrest has now grown up, and he is now the Ravenmaster. So he stayed at the tower, and he's actually taken the place of his father. "Well, this is for you then," the boy said, holding out a package wrapped in brown paper. "For me? Who sent it, lad?" "Ain't me business to know," the boy said with a shrug. "I just deliver packages from the wharf round the city. Don't know who they come from, nor what they be." He waited patiently and hopefully. "Yes, all right," muttered the Ravenmaster as he dug into his pocket. He pulled out a penny and threw it to the boy. "Is that one of the tower's ravens?" the boy asked, motioning to the bird on the man's shoulder. "Yes, one of the oldest," the Ravenmaster told him. "Does he do tricks?" "Tricks? The Ravenmaster smiled. "He could teach you a few, I dare say." He reached into his pocket for another coin and threw it high in the air. The raven flew after it and caught it in his beak. "Hold out your hand, lad," the Ravenmaster ordered. The boy did as he was told, and the raven dropped the penny into his palm. As the boy walked away, the Ravenmaster smiled at the bird on his shoulder. "Not bad for a couple of old fellows, hey, boy?" The raven murmured softly and nuzzled his neck. Then the two headed home to a cottage beside the moat. The raven flew to the roof as the man went up to the door. No sooner had he stepped inside than his rosy-faced daughter raced up to meet him. He smiled as he lifted the black velvet hat from his head and placed it into her small, waiting hands. "How goes it with you, sir?" his wife asked, as she offered to take his coat. "As it should, my love, as it should," the Ravenmaster replied. "For no sooner am I in the door than our Maddy here meets me, and in 2 shakes of a duck's whisker she has my bonnet ready to put away. Fine job, my girl, fine job." The little girl grinned as she placed the large hat on a shelf beside the door. "Father, what have you brought us?" she asked as she hurried back to his side. The Ravenmaster looked down at the small package under his arm and shook his head. "Oh, this," he said. "A boy from the docks delivered it today. In truth, I do not know what it is." He took his seat by the fire while his wife went back to rolling out her oat cakes. And as his young daughter looked on, the Ravenmaster untied the string from the package and pulled open the brown paper. "What is it, father?" his daughter asked. "'Tis a spyglass," the Ravenmaster whispered as he pulled it out of its old leather case. "A very old spyglass." "But who would send such a thing?" his daughter wondered aloud. "Is there no message come with it?" It was then that the Ravenmaster noticed the letter tucked into the brown wrapping paper, and with a trembling hand he picked it up and read aloud. "To Ravenmaster Forrest Harper, the Tower of London. Dear Forrest, it has been many years and a lifetime ago since last we spoke. I have followed my dreams and searched for a place that is free of chimneys and rats as any I know. And so the sea has become my home. With the steward's aid, I was able to secure work on a whaling ship, and have since sailed round the world these many years past. When last I heard, the Stuarts were living in the colonies. Maddy was well and happy. Once long ago, you loaned me a spyglass. Do you recall? Because of you, I was able to see further than I had ever dreamed. I return it now with my thanks, which are much overdue. If you direct the glass south toward the Mediterranean Sea, you will be looking in the direction of an old friend who has not forgotten the times we spent together and the secret we share. In gratitude, yours, Ned White, Captain in His Majesty's Royal Navy. But father, little Maddy pestered as she looked through the old spyglass, it's so cloudy, I can't see anything through it. You have to look in a special way, the Ravenmaster told her. As he guided his hand over hers, his fingers grazed the ruby ring she wore on her thumb. You have to really look. She shrugged and tried again, but quickly lowered the glass. And father, how did the sea captain know of me and that I was happy? A smile came upon her father's face then, and a faraway look filled his eyes. 'Tis a secret, my love, the Ravenmaster whispered, hugging her to him. A secret from long ago. So in this epilogue, it kind of ties the story together. And it tells us 30 years later, Maddy has moved to the colonies being the United States. So she's immigrated from Scotland and she's now safe in the United States. Ned started working as a youngster on a ship, probably as a cabin boy, something like that, and has worked his way up to being a captain of his own ship for the British Navy. Wonderful. And of course, they all do share a secret. Now, interestingly enough, if you were listening carefully, you noticed that Forrest has named his own daughter Maddy after his friend that he saved. And she's also wearing a very special ring with a red stone that belonged to the original Maddy. So the story has come full circle and ended just beautifully. Now, after this part, in this book, there is a section about the history of some of the parts of this book. And it actually tells about the Tower of London, originally being built by William the Conqueror beginning in 1066. He built it as a palace stronghold to overlook London. Okay? And so it was enlarged and it was built year after year. They built different things. At one point, the tower actually held the zoo for the king, because during the reign of Henry III, he was given an elephant by the King of France. He got 3 leopards from the Emperor of Germany and a polar bear for the King of Norway. So he decided to keep his growing collection of animals, which was called a menagerie, cool word, and that was the start of the Tower Zoo, and eventually was the start of actually the London Zoo. Some famous people were held in the tower. You've got the 2 youngest sons of Richard IV that were vanished. You've got Queen Elizabeth I. You've got Anne Boleyn. Lots of different people were held in this tower. Walter Raleigh, William Penn, who was a Quaker who eventually came and had Pennsylvania named after him. And then it also talks about the sadder parts of the history of the fortress and how it was used in military uses as well, and some of the escapes that were recorded. Okay, so the last part of it actually tells us about the tower today. The tower's use has changed over the centuries. Royalty no longer lives there. Money is no longer minted on the tower grounds. The lions and elephants are gone since the zoo was closed in 1834, and the last prisoner to be held in the tower was during World War II. Today, millions of people from all over the world visit the tower, not as prisoners, but as tourists. The yeoman warders still live at the fortress with their families, but instead of prison guards, they now serve as tour guides. You can learn more interesting facts about the tower's past and present on the web, and you can go to their website to look up the tower's history and see pictures of it. Okay, and you can also view in live terms the ravens. They have like a raven cam, so you can watch the ravens because they do still have the ravens there. And then at the end of this book, which I really like, they have a glossary of words. One section of it is English words, and then a glossary of the Scottish words that are used in this book. And then the final thing that's here is a bibliography showing the different books that the author read and referred to write their own story. So this is a great book. Again, The Ravenmaster's Secret by Elvira Woodruff. And because of Scholastic, I've been able to read it to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun, guys.